Watch your toes. Oh. Made it.
Made it. Heavy.
All right. So, in this video, actually it's been a little while since our last video. Probably a little too long, I would say. In this video, we got a new toy, you can see, and we thought we would open up.
I don't know if I'd call this a toy for me.
It's a tool.
Tool.
And we're going to get into the idea of toys versus tools, right? That's what we're going to talk about a little bit. So, so yeah, this is a tool, and it's also going to kind of prompt the conversation of not a new toy, but a new tool that we think we found. Finally.
Finally.
All right. You want to help get this up?
Yep.
All right. Ready?
Nope.
Whew. Don't ever say filming isn't awkward. Okay, so we thought it'd be really cool to go ahead and open this up with you here. Let's see if we can. I don't think we're gonna need snips on this. Check that out. All right, so we were lucky enough when we bought this truck that it came with the B&W hitch setup, all already in the bed and everything, so that was pretty cool. So we were able to find this thing on Amazon, and this will actually go
Walmart.
right in Walmart.
We bought it from Walmart because if we needed to return it, we wanted that possibility, not having to pay shipping on a 133-pound hitch.
Yes, you're right. It was Walmart.
They were on both Walmart and Amazon.
Yeah. Now we did look at Facebook a little bit and try to find one used, but we finally decided, you know what? Nope, we want a brand new one.
It's pulling our family. Let's make sure it's brand new.
Exactly. So obviously we're using this to talk about. Hey, we decided what to buy. It's a fifth wheel. So we did. We found ourselves a fifth wheel, and we're gonna talk about that a little bit more because it's really interesting how we found this one. Because we first found it in Clinton.
We did.
So I know you don't necessarily have reference of where Clinton, Missouri is.
We found it 2.5 hours away.
There you go.
Not 9.5, like we're gonna go get.
Yeah. So we are going to be making a trip here in a couple weeks. And heading down to Texas to go pick it up.
It's my first time ever in Texas. I think you're too.
Yeah, I've never been to Texas before, so this will be really cool.
Yep.
So anyways, let's go ahead and get this up here, and we want to look at it a little bit, just see what it looks like in the truck, and then we'll talk a little bit more about our upcoming trip. Okay, so that's kind of where it'll sit. I'm out of breath. That thing's not light at all. So
pretty sunny too.
It is pretty sunny. Pardon the sunglasses. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit more about where we found the model. So we first found it in, like I said, Clinton, Missouri. It's about 2 hours away from where we live currently.
No, let's back up. We were looking at YouTube because, of course, that's what you do. You find a trailer you like on RV Trader, that's at least what we did, and then we would go to YouTube when we were more interested in that trailer and look up floor plans and have typically salespeople do walkthroughs of the floor plan. Gives you a little better idea of the camper rather than just the stills. Yeah. So while we were on YouTube one day looking at models, I ran across this particular model.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't want to say start drooling, but the features of it just really caught my attention, and I'm like, there's no way we're going to be able to afford that. Like, I just kind of was like, wow. One, that salesperson did a great job selling it. He knew his rig and knew what to do, but the features in it were awesome. And so then we just kept looking, and like, I think it was literally 24, 48 hours after that, the one in Clinton showed up on RV Trader, and a couple days after that we went to Clinton and looked at it. Yep.
So we walked through it. It hit most of our checkpoints.
Oh yes.
Checklist, whatever you want to call it.
Lots of checks.
Yes, almost every single one.
I think all of them.
All of them. Maybe we had a short list.
No, we were pretty picky.
Yeah, we were. So probably overly picky, and we will get into that as well, actually. So
on Facebook, let me back up. On Facebook, on one of the Missouri fifth wheels trailers for sale groups, I posted, "Hey, does anyone know a fifth wheel with these criteria, and nobody said, hey, I've got one for sale. Or I've seen other posts have like 100 people, hey, what about mine? What about mine? What about mine?
Yeah.
And I got 0.
It was like,
I know they exist, so
yeah. It's like people read her post and it was like this, well, when you find one like that, you let me know. But guess what?
We did.
We found one like that. So, and we're not trying to be like overly secretive with the model or anything. It's just we're trying to, we're getting there. We're getting there, basically. So we went to Clinton to go look at it. The floor plan hit everything we wanted. Unfortunately, this particular model was not in the greatest shape, per se. So, but it was a really good price.
It was.
But we went home, we slept on it, we did the Dave Ramsey thing. Anyone who knows anything about Dave Ramsey, you don't make emotional financial decisions, right? You go, you think about it, and then you go home, you sleep on it, right? And then the next day, if you still have a similar thought pattern, right? Because then you're not as emotionally invested, then it's more logical kind of thing. Okay, then it might be a good idea. So we did that. Apparently that was too long. So we called it was the next day, right?
Yeah, it was, we were gone like 22 hours.
Yeah.
And we called them back and got told it sold that day.
It's gone. So, she was pretty brokenhearted, I'd say.
That was a weird roller coaster. I literally woke up the next morning going, I don't think I can. That was pretty beat up. It just worried me, things that were beat up that we didn't see, because it was a 2019 and it was really beat up.
It was.
So again, that was just physical. I'm like, okay, I can get over that, but I was worried about the others, and then we finally decided, yes, this is it. It was gone.
Yep.
So as a good wife that I am, I get on RV Trader and I search the entire country for this model.
Then at that point, I think that's when we realized we want that.
Yes.
We narrowed down that one thing.
Yep.
So, which brings us to Texas.
Right before that, a week or two before that, we're like, no, we are not driving to Texas. We are not driving to Texas
like,
for a
no,
rig. We
don't
can
have
stay
to.
more local than that. We don't have to drive to Texas, and now we're driving to Texas.
And guess what?
But we feel
we're
good about it.
We're going to Texas.
We feel good about it.
Yes, we do.
Because we've seen the rig. We've walked through a model like that.
Yeah. So it's like we're going down, it's like you go down blind, and there might be plenty of you that are watching this right now that have done the same thing, and maybe it's with RVs, or maybe it's with a vehicle, something like that, even a house, right? I mean, you're doing the entire tour via like a virtual FaceTime type of scenario, you know. We had the benefit of being able to walk through the model before the drive, right? So we're going down knowing we love the floor plan.
And we FaceTime with the guy.
Yes, we did. And he's been great so far. He's been really great. So, here's the overall point, though. This has been a drama-filled roller coaster, just emotional ride, to say the least. I mean, to say the least. And I think we were going to show a little bit of footage of when we went and saw this Clinton rig, and we had a really good conversation in the truck ride over there about we're in the van, whatever. That means nothing to the point. But we had a really good conversation about this idea of being distracted. Well, this makes the fourth trip or so that we went and looked at some type of camper and everything. I gotta be honest, I think I'm about done with this stage.
So the stress of buying a camper. We've been looking at RV Trader, Facebook, some Craigslist, individual dealer sites, trying to find the perfect rig. We know there's not one, but that still doesn't mean we don't want the most amenities on a rig for the family to be the most comfortable. Because our thought is, if we're comfortable, we're going to want to do it longer, it's going to be easier, and we're going to be able to do more missions. And then we're hoping to be able to host families, be able to sit down, have conversation, and be the campsite, or a campsite to hang out at and have some good amenities. So I've spent lots of mornings looking at RV Trader, thinking it was the right rig. We FaceTime with a person. It's always scary. It's very scary for me to buy a rig.
I think something that stuck out to me that you'd mentioned during shopping is that it's just, this isn't good for your heart right now. Like
Yes.
It's the stress of shopping and rather than just making the purchase.
Right.
Or so whatever. I mean, not that you just need to jump onto a purchase or anything. That's not what I'm saying. But it's just like this heart of like, is this it? No, this isn't it. This is it? No, this isn't it.
Yeah.
And it's not good for your heart and that amount of stress. You know, that's just something that stuck out.
And then I'm definitely I'm not a shop for a year kind of person. He is. But when he shops, he doesn't shop for a year thinking I can buy it. And I could potentially, and we've been looking at campers on and off, but thinking, oh, is this the camper? And then being like, if I don't buy it, then it's going to get sold, and then I'm going to have to do this all over again. I can't do that. Like, I can fun look, but I can't do the, is this the one, we need to go buy it? And especially COVID messed so many things up. This would have been the time that things were going quick, hot, 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 and you had to make up your mind and go get it if it was right. So that's just been hard, very hard for me, very emotional, and I'm not usually too emotional, but even to just cleaning up the house, getting rid of kids' toys, I mean, it's all just hard, knowing what's ahead of us, knowing we could have a crazy 4 weeks, buying a rig, selling a rig, or not selling a rig, buying a rig, getting moved into a rig, selling a house. So
it's overwhelming for sure.
It is.
Overwhelming.
But something I said to my brother today, I called him, I was talking to my brother, was, I don't know if God cares what rig we're in. I mean, he wants us to be not broken down so we can do missions, but it's easy to get caught up in, we have to have the perfect, the right to be able to go, and we don't. God can use what we have, whatever we decide on,
I think
for his work.
Right. I think the important thing is to realize that what we're trying to look for, yes, we need to make sure that we can function in it. You know, we need to become, there's a level of comfort that you want to try to achieve, or else, yeah, it's going to be harder to continue. Absolutely. But at the same time, I think it's real easy to get distracted with this, like you were saying, the perfect rig type of scenario. And it's real easy to just get distracted, and you get this like paralyzing shopping mode. Like, well, I don't want to get that one because of something else that might be on the horizon or something like that, you know. And yeah, it's just a distraction because you get too caught up in, at the end of the day, this is a tool. It's a ministry tool, period. You know, and yes, it's going to be a home, but we need to look at it that, you know, we just need to be good stewards of a ministry tool that, you know, God can use. And yeah, I think it's easy to get caught up in how do you find the right tool, and instead realize that God can use any tool we purchase.
Lots of bunkhouses we have found are in Texas. We are in Missouri currently. And Texas is a long drive with 3 kids under the age of 5.
Yes.
So we actually had 3 bunkhouses picked out. 3 rigs, I don't know if they were all bunkhouses, that were within an hour and a half of each other, I believe, in Texas, but it was a 10-hour drive to get to Texas. Right. And we decided maybe to make this a 2-hour trek away from home to check these out.
Because, I mean, how do you not drive 10 hours
and not buy one?
And not buy one. Yeah. Right. It's just like, so. As
you can see, we're in our minivan, so we are not planning on pulling a rig home today.
No.
We will have to make another trek if we.
Well, and actually we got possible truck stuff. Maybe that'll be another video.
That's all him. There's a check engine light on the new truck.
Yeah.
The new to us truck.
Yeah. But it'll be good. It'll be good. Upgrade. Right? See, that's what a check engine light means. Upgrade time. We got really distracted on finding the perfect rig. Like, I think we got pigeonholed into it, so to speak. Like, it was the only thing we could think about. It's the only thing we were focusing on. Now, you may get a very good point about it, though. that, I mean...
Which point?
Yeah, so many, you know.
I don't.
No, the idea, it's like, well, you need to know, you need that security, you need to know where your baby's
I was having a hard time thinking about the mission, thinking about the goal, not knowing where my babies were going to sleep. And now that we have, I feel like we're making way more progress with getting our house ready to sell, with separating, keep, save. Like right now, I could go through my house and take half of it to the garage for the garage sale.
It's easier to focus on what's important.
Yes. All I wanted to know was where we were going to be comfortable going. I didn't want to sell everything we had, and it's not the right mindset. That's not what God wants. God was going to provide. But leaving my house that I'm comfortable in, that my babies know how to sleep in, that we play in, that, you know, the list goes on. You guys that have sold your house and done this, you get it.
Yeah.
But we were losing focus on what we were going to do, when we were going, how we were going to tell people about God. And now that we feel like we know where we're going to sleep and we have the right rig, that we can go and do that quicker.
And I think that it's fair for us to admit that was not the right mindset.
Yeah.
You know, that was a mistake. I think looking back on it, was a mistake. And what I mean by that, I don't mean it was a mistake to shop and find a good rig that we can be comfortable in. That's not what I mean by that. What I mean is it was a mistake to allow that to distract us.
Yes.
And there's a difference there.
Yeah.
You know, it's all about balance. Absolutely. And I think it's really good to point out as well. And again, this is more of an awareness thing, right? Learn from our mistakes, right? That's why you film things, so that way people can point out your mistakes. I don't know if you knew that. But you learn from this because that's how sneaky the enemy can be.
Oh, yes.
You know, he's like, well, no, you can't focus on anything else before you know what model you're buying. Like, you have to devote all of your energy to this. And it sounds like it's a good, noble thing of, I need to know where my babies are going to be sleeping. He makes it sound good, you know, but that's not the point, you know. And I think it's easy to get into that.
And it's a distraction. That if we would have started planning further out, maybe we could have left sooner, even though knowing that God was going to provide the right rig at the right time.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah, we probably didn't handle it the best, but we're happy with the result.
We are.
I think we're happy with the result. So we'll be going down, like I said, to Texas here in a couple weeks. By the time this video is out, it might be 1 week. I don't know. But we'll be going down to Texas, and obviously we'll be filming that as well. So we want to let you guys in on that little adventure. Because the other cool thing that we're going to do is one of the churches that sponsor the Abundant Journey ministry here is actually down there in Texas. It's like 2 hours south of where we're going to be picking up this particular camper. So we'll be able to swing by and see them, which is going to be really great. So I was able to sneak off real quick, and I hope the audio works out on this video because I really like how this worked out, actually. I'm at a creek bed that's just a couple miles away from our home here in central Missouri. And I wanted to sneak off and made sure I got a little bit of devotion time in this particular episode. And the last one I wasn't able to get as much in as far as that goes, and I want to make a priority. You know, I want to make sure these things get into these videos, right? So anyways, I love the way the timing worked out here because it's going to help illustrate kind of what I'm going to be talking about. So like I said, I'm standing in a creek bed, an actual creek bed, right? And up above me is a bridge that is keeping me dry, actually, and the camera. Thank goodness. We're all staying dry. But I'm sure you can hear that. It's rain. Right? It's raining pretty good right now, actually, and it might show up in the video pretty well. But it's doing more than just raining. It's actually storming. Like, there's actually thunder and lightning. I mean, we're getting the whole gamut of things right now. And see, storms fascinate me. And the reason why is because I think they illustrate well how human nature really is. And what I mean by that is, see, if you sit back and you just listen to rain, you just sit back and listen to it. I don't know how well that's coming through, but if you sit back and listen to rain, it's peaceful. It's definitely a peaceful thing, right? But the same cloud that produces rain also produces trains, by the way, but it produces rain and thunder and lightning, which obviously is not as peaceful. It's not as peaceful of a thing, but it kind of reflects this inner turmoil that us as humans have to go through. You know, we're fighting for peace, but literally while we're fighting, it's causing turmoil, right? And now we've been talking about most of this episode, the back and forth that Sarah and I were having when we are shopping for RVs, when we are shopping for our home, right? And it's really easy to convince yourself that that's the priority. Well, we have to make sure that what we're living in is going to be suitable for our family, right? And it's really easy to convince yourself of that. And there's nothing wrong with spending time to pick out an RV. I'm not saying that, okay? There's nothing wrong with that at all. It is a priority because you're going to be living in it, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But, and like I said, this is something that we've been talking about this episode a little bit, is this idea of getting distracted. This idea of getting distracted away from what really matters, right? So you're trying to seek out this piece of, okay, we have the RV picked out. We know what we're gonna live in. Whew, you know, whatever. That sigh of relief, check it off the list, however you want to think about that. Now we have it, and now we have that peace. But while fighting for that peace, it's done nothing but cause almost like a turmoil inside of us, because it's made us nervous, it's made us very anxious, right? And here's something to think about. As soon as we start putting our need, we think it's a need, our need for stability and all of that, to the point where it causes anxiety. Well, see, now we are trusting in our own plan. We're trusting in how this is going to come about. We're trusting in the way that we can perfectly shop for an RV and make sure it checks out. We're focusing so much on that we're being blinded, or the mission that is the reason for all of this is taking second seat or back seat, however you want to think of that, right? It's taking back seat. Well, see, so when you take your needs and put them above God, you know, there's a word for that. It's called idolatry. I know that's a hard word. I know that's tough, but that's what it is, right? It's an idolatry. It's a form of idolatry. Sarah and I, and I'll admit this, I'm totally willing, and the more you guys learn about us and the more you follow us, you'll understand that the big thing that we want to make sure we come across with is authenticity. I also have to learn how to pronounce that word. But intimacy as well. I'm not afraid of letting you guys know when I mess up. That doesn't bug me at all. In fact, that's what I'm saying right here is I was doing idolatry. I was. Okay? And I was following a temptation. Right? A temptation that I was somehow in control of that. Okay. Now, I've talked a lot. What I want to do is go ahead and read something real quick. Now, this is actually Matthew 26, okay? And it's Matthew 26. It's when Jesus goes to pray in the Garden of Gethsemane, okay? And you may know the story. Jesus goes, obviously, this is right before he gets arrested, which then leads to his crucifixion, okay? So this is further in the story. But before all of that, he takes all the disciples to this Gethsemane, this Garden of Gethsemane, right? And he takes them all there. And first, he takes them all in, says, hey, you guys hang out here, right? And then he takes his choice few, okay? Excuse me, Peter and the sons of Zebedee, okay? And he takes them on in a little bit further in the garden and asks them, hey, wait here and watch and pray with me while I go and pray, because my soul is sorrowful, okay? So I'm going to read Matthew 26, starting in verse 38. Okay, here we go. Then he said to them, my soul is very sorrowful. Okay, this is Jesus speaking. Even to death, remain here and watch with me. And going a little further, he fell on his face and prayed, saying, my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will. Okay, let's stop right there. See, Jesus has already got this obviously right. He's Jesus, right? So let's follow that, and let's think about this for a little bit. He immediately said, hey, yeah, this is something I want. I'm not afraid to pray to God and say, hey, Lord, this is something I want. But he also knows how to put that in perspective. He goes, yes, this may be something I want, but ultimately, God, it's your will that I want done. You know? So Sarah and I, through all of our shopping, our to-do list, our failed attempts to control. You know, that's us saying, Lord, yeah, this is what we want. But we had to take a step back and say, but ultimately, Lord, your will be done. You know, if it means not quite getting the camper we've been looking for, because you have something in store for us to leave sooner rather than later, then that's what that means. You know, and that's a self-check. That was a self-check for us. And I think it's important for me to talk about this because it's something you guys can learn from, right? I hope you learn from this. I hope you get something from this, from our experience, because the distraction of shopping for the camper was real, and it was a temptation to follow our needs, our wants, our will above God's will. You know, it just distracted us. I want to keep reading though. That wasn't the final point. All right, if it be possible, not as I will, but as you will. Now we're on verse 40, okay? And he came to the disciples and found them sleeping. Remember the guys? He said, hey, stay up and pray with me. Stay up and pray with me because I am sorrowful. I'm not doing well. Guys, I'm just not doing well. I'm scared. I'm frightened. I'm full of sorrow. I'm worried and I'm anxious, and I need you to stay up with me and pray with me. Be with me. Comfort me. But what happened? They fell asleep. They didn't stay. They didn't stay with him, did they? All right. And he came to the disciples and found them sleeping. He said to Peter, so could you not watch with me 1 hour? I like this. Watch and pray that you may not enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. Guys, this is how we battle against this. We watch and we pray. What does Jesus mean by watch? He means watch him. Watch him. See, Jesus is our example. Not me, right? Not my wife. Not, frankly, anybody watching this video right now. You're not our example. Jesus is. And our example, Jesus, what he tells us is not my will, but Father, your will be done. That's what he says. That's example. That's what we need to be watching for. So we need to ask ourselves, are we putting the will of God above our own comforts, our will, what we want? What's taking priority in our lives? I think we just need to ask ourselves that question. Sarah and I did. Not that we answered it perfectly, by any means, but we at least stopped and became aware of what we were doing. And it helped. It helped to think back and be like, you know what? We need to watch Jesus, watch how he does this. And we need to pray. Because he's our example. And that's how we avoid the temptation of putting our wants above God's. Because I don't know about you, but being in his will is far more important and far sweeter than anything I can come up with. You know? So instead of fighting for that peace, you know, having that inner turmoil of the thunder and lightning against that comfort and peaceful rain within us, how do we focus on just the peaceful rain? We watch and we pray. Guys, thank you for tuning in again. Be sure to continue to follow us on YouTube here. Subscribe, hit that little bell so you can follow along with us in our coming adventures and everything. And follow us on Facebook, all of that, because we want to speak with you. We want to meet you. And we're really looking forward to it. Summer's here, and it's time to get our RV on. We'll see you guys later.